Have you ever noticed as a chef, when you start something new, that feeling of being all fired up, motivated, full of excitement, only to eventually hit the wall, lose steam, and start questioning everything? As a chef, having been there, I know that you have. You see, it took me decades to learn what I'm going to share with you in the next 10 minutes. And it would have made my time as a cook, a lead, and a sous chef infinitely more enjoyable had I known it. You see, beyond everything we do in life, there are 5 stages of opportunity. You see, there's a pattern. And like most patterns, once you understand it, it's easier to stay in the game. And it actually makes the game fun. See, every serious chef will walk through these stages at least multiple times in their lives at some point. Now, before the end of this video, I'm going to explain those 5 stages, help you identify exactly where you are, help you see what's coming next, and how I avoided the most common pitfalls on the path to running the operation so it couldn't possibly run me. Whether you're leading a brigade, trying to reclaim your time, or looking to elevate your process, this is your map. And maybe you're like Chef Jeffrey Lanas, who has accomplished a great deal in his career, but still found himself in need of guidance through the valley during his time on the Culinary Olympic Team USA and acclimating to his role as executive chef. See, with all of the unknowns and all of those unfamiliar challenges that come with it, we all need a little nudge. We can all use a little support, and we can all use some guidance through the valley. And if that's the case with you, then I can help you too, because that's what I do every single day. If you need a real plan, structured support, and someone who knows how to guide chefs through this exact process, through your individual valley, then that's what Beyond the Food is built for. So if you're ready, click the link below and book a free call with me. I'll walk you through where you are, what's holding you back, and how you can move forward with confidence, clarity, and control. So now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. You see, all of the 5 stages start with the first piece called uninformed optimism. Basically, sunshine and rainbows on speed. It's all excitement, it's all new, and it's all wonderful. And that's where things are usually pretty great. After you find yourself in the uninformed optimism stage, you then move into stage 2, which is informed pessimism. You don't know what you don't know, but you know things are starting to suck phase. That's kind of the best way to describe this, which presents the first major fork in the road as you're traveling through this challenge, through the path or this particular pattern to reaching your goal, which is the main achievement at the end. And that's where a great many go back to stage 1 only to create a constant loop, stuck trying new things and accomplishing nothing because you're not sticking with anything long enough to get there. And this can look like trying new dishes and not delivering a good one, with 2 clear choices every single time. 1, start over, or 2, keep working on what works and push through to that next stage. The next stage, stage 3, is also known as the Valley of Despair, or what Seth Godin calls the dip in a book by the same name. It's an excellent read for when you're stuck there. More on that later. But this is that place where you actually build confidence, because this is actually the dojo, the training ground, where you get the calluses and develop the skills to survive long term. If you can move past this phase and not return to stage 1, then you'll move on to stage 4. At stage 4, this is when you've encountered enough training and you've got enough experience behind you to where you develop into what's defined as informed optimism. You have an idea of what you don't know, and you've developed enough skill to know how to get through most of the challenges you face. This is actually where confidence really starts. And then, and only then, can you find yourself in stage 5, which is actually reaching the achievement that you've set out for. And at that point, it's definitely not going to look the same, feel the same, or even smell the same as when you initially set out on your path. So let's go a lot deeper on each one of those. Let's go back to the beginning with stage 1. Stage 1, that uninformed optimism stage. This is that let's go energy stage, right? You're fired up, new kitchen, new opportunity, maybe new position, maybe a new idea, maybe it's a new tool, new piece of equipment. It's easy to dream big here because, well, anything's possible. And honestly, it is. We're talking about like full system implementation, never-ending creativity, healthy culture, excellence, like literally sunshine and rainbows. But here's the catch at this stage. You haven't yet hit resistance. It's coming though. You're flying on vision and adrenaline, period. No bruises, no burns, at least not yet. Enjoy the phase, but don't get addicted to it. And certainly don't assume that it's the whole ride, because in truth, it's like the first 5% at most. Keep going, and you find yourself at stage 2, that informed pessimism stage. And this is when reality really starts to show up. You start to notice the cracks. The paint starts to chip. Weak processes start to rear their ugly head. Team gaps show up. Your task list never seems to get any shorter and only seems to pick up more. Because what's happening is the tools that got you here are no longer enough to take you further. Basically, what got you here isn't going to get you to the next stage. And generally, right around this point in the journey, doubt starts to creep in. You may think, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I'm not cut out to lead at this level. This is really where the suck in success comes from. Very often, this is where the desire to get back to that let's go energy kind of derails the process and drives a lot of people to hit the reset button and just start over, living in that never-ending cycle of lack of accomplishment. Now, it's going to sound counterintuitive, but one of the key pieces here is that doubt is a sign that you're actually learning. I know. One more time. That doubt that you feel at this stage is a sign that you're actually learning because you're becoming aware of new things that you haven't seen before. You're starting to see what needs work. And that's progress. It doesn't have to be a problem. And that mentality has served me very well, especially as I've moved forward through my career. So I encourage you that if you're in this place, if you're stuck in this spot, which I've been many times over, lock into the idea that new problems are a sign of true progress. And understand that new skills are what eventually come from solving those problems. Avoid them at your own peril, because they're going to come back around at some point again anyway. And solving those problems is exactly what ends up happening in stage 3. Stage 3, that valley of despair stage, is where most people, most chefs, most cooks quit. Or they have a project that they somehow just bury somewhere and they leave it to expire until they're done with it and it just kind of disappears. Because in the valley of despair, it gets worse before it gets better. You ever notice that pattern? Because I always have. It always gets harder before it gets easier. This isn't just hard, it's lonely. That fire's dimmed, the passage, the path is less clear, and it's just downright getting to a point where it's completely unfamiliar. You've reached uncharted territory. That initial excitement is no longer in sight, and it's not there to carry you through. And this is where chefs start to make really emotional decisions. Many isolate themselves, shut down, many burn out, and most walk away. But for those that persist, stay the course, and keep one foot in front of the other, this is actually the gateway to transformation, and where you actually start to become the thing that you set out to become. I know when I was here, and I finally leaned into the challenge itself, this is where those changes I was trying to make actually took place. It was ugly and it was bumpy at first, but eventually, through many times of practice, I started to get familiar and become effective with those unfamiliar techniques, those unfamiliar tools, and those unfamiliar practices that I hadn't yet developed yet. You don't need to do it all in one day. In fact, you probably won't be able to. The reality is that in the valley, you're done when the valley's done with you. It just takes as long as it takes. The most important piece that I can tell you, the most important strategy that I can give you is to keep on going, looking at past successes. Sometimes it's strategically, when that's possible, intentionally when you can, or even when it requires, just like crawling through glass 1 inch at a time. However it happens, keep moving forward through the valley, because that's truly where you become the thing. Persist long enough through the valley, gain enough skill, overcome enough obstacles, and where you find yourself is in stage 4, the stage of informed optimism. Not uninformed optimism or lightly informed pessimism. This is where you actually start to have hope and encouragement and understand that maybe you can get there because you've done a lot of reps. You've adapted. You've learned to think differently. You've picked up the new skills that you need to, and it's evident because the obstacles are actually still there. If you stop and pause and look around, nothing's really gone away. They don't shake you or knock you off course anymore. That's really all it is, because you've adapted enough skill. You've picked up enough technique to where you can negotiate them very easily. Every level has a new devil, and if you're finding yourself again with those new problems, that's simply because you haven't developed the skill set to overcome those. The cool thing is, once you start to pick up momentum, that really starts to show up every time you go back to that training ground in the valley. Now, at this stage, in stage 4, you're really developing a structure and learning new tools, and you're refining those standards. You're developing your program in such a way that you can actually show people how to carry on down the path behind you. For me, in stage 4 is where true confidence is earned. It's not hype, it's not ego, it's competence. It's literally understanding because you've been there and being able to show other people how to get through that valley. That's the nature of what we do. This is where you earn that role as the chef that others trust, and where we switch to leading with vision, not just putting out fires, because that's just what we think we're supposed to be doing. And then finally, you reach stage 5, that achievement piece. But here's the truth. By the time you arrive here, it doesn't look like what you first imagined. You started out chasing perfection, maybe chasing recognition, but now you realize the real win is in the consistency, and it's in the skill set that you've developed in the valley. And what that looks like, your crew shows up ready, your systems hold, even when you're not in the room. You make fewer decisions because the right ones are already embedded in the team. You've trained your team, designed your processes, and built something sustainable based on your time in the valley, showing people how to get through their own valley on their own. You've moved from doing the job to owning the standard. And the best part, you're not just surviving anymore. You're creating that space to run your environment for creativity, for strategy, for mentorship, and in life. The cool thing is, achievement isn't the end, it's a platform. And from here, you start thinking legacy, or at least I started to think legacy, and this is where it actually started to make sense. It's impossible to think legacy when you're trying to survive, but it definitely comes around. And once again, we enter the valley. Do you see that pattern now? Just back at the beginning, ready to enter the valley again, a little bit more educated, a bit more experienced. Now, this is the main point that I want to share. These 5 stages, they don't only happen once. They repeat. Every time you level up, every time you do something new, new challenge, new team, new goal, back to stage 1. But with every pass through that cycle, you get better at that process. I can't count how many times I've been humbled in the valley, but I think I've gotten to the point now where I get excited in the valley. I look forward to the valley because I know that when I come out the other side, I'm better than when I went in. I've gotten more strategic. I've learned how to recover better. I've built so much more depth, organization, and ability. So I encourage you to not fear the valley. Don't resent the doubt. They're all signs that you're growing. And just like I was talking about with Chef Lanez, when you find yourself in that pain, lean into it and don't quit. Don't quit is the mantra that carried me through more valleys than I can count, until I started to understand the joy in the valley. There were times I wanted to throw in the towel, but instead I learned that sometimes I needed to zoom out. Others I needed to really focus in and remember to put one foot in front of the other. For me, having faith and trusting that every challenge is part of the path helps. And you can do the same. Wherever you are, whether you're fired up or worn down, know that it's not final. It's not permanent. It's just a stage. So I want to share with you the one key to navigating each one of these 5 stages. And that's to lean in. Don't resist the discomfort, engage with it. Don't quit in the valley, build in the valley. Make yourself at home in the valley. And know that if you're stuck, overwhelmed, or just need to sharpen your edge, you don't need to do it alone. Maybe you're in the valley, maybe you're just getting started, or maybe you've made it to that informed optimism stage and you're ready to build something bigger. You don't need another motivational quote, you need a real plan, structured support, and someone who knows how to guide chefs through this exact process. And that's what Beyond the Food is built for. If you're ready, click the link below and book a free call with me. We'll talk through where you are, what's holding you back, and how to move forward with confidence, clarity, and control. Because growth isn't a straight line. It's a series of dips and climbs, but every climb begins with one decision: to stay in the game. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Be sure to share this with someone you know who's in or headed into the valley, and I'll see you in the next video.